What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Shape Up with Jacob. My name's Jacob. Today we have a special guest for you. He goes by Ico Sounds, a house DJ out here in Arizona, aka my friend Michael. What's up, dude? Welcome to the set.
How you doing?
Good, bro. How are you?
Excited.
Have a seat.
Sweet.
All right, bro. What are we doing with your hair today?
Yeah, weight off the top, trim out the sides, and just clean it up overall.
Cool. You cool with some texture on the top too?
Yeah. I think what we did last time was pretty cool, so.
Perfect. So I think what I'm gonna do is take some of that length off the top and the back, shave the side right here down to like a 1,
Okay.
and then add a lot of texture in the back and the front, okay?
Sounds good to me.
So I was just reminiscing on the way that I met you back in February of 2023 at a festival called
Jam
and Jams out there in Tucson, Arizona.
Yep.
Which was a sick festival, sick set. I noticed you guys because you were dressed up like astronauts.
Yeah.
And you had a kid on stage with you dancing around, which I thought was like really cool because I'm a dad. And I was like, dude, this guy's really sick because he includes his family in what he does. Like that was like my first initial thought, which I respected tremendously. And then luckily I got to meet you in a line for a food truck, right?
Yep.
And I was like, I really like your mullet. That was a dope set. My name's Jacob. Where do you live? I want to cut your hair. And here we are.
Yeah. I mean, it just turned out that we're literally right down the street from each other. With Gem and Jam, that passion project is Moon Junkies. Mm-hmm. So that's me and my homie. His name's Jason. We put that together years ago, and we've really just been pushing that project as of recently. But the whole idea is, it's kind of just driving energy, but it's good for everybody. That's why we had my kid on the stage there dressing in the astronaut suit. So, it's not just an exclusive scene or a type of sound to one person, right? Or one group of people. It really is just for everyone. Everyone can find a place in the sound that we have. So I think that's what, a lot of people are drawn to for sure with that.
Sick, dude. And you said you guys have been together for a while as the Moon Junkies, yeah?
I mean, yeah, we've been best friends for, I don't know, probably almost 10 years now. Moon Junkies came about, well, we call ourselves Night Owls. So it kind of turned out we were learning how to mix, we were bedroom DJs, and one day it just kind of turned out, we were sitting there looking at each other, we were like, hey man, like, what are we doing? This is kind of that moment where we decided we had something cool, special. So going from Night Owls, we're looking at the moon, and we're kind of like Moon Junkies.
Oh, I like that.
So
that makes sense.
That was kind of the birth of that project. And over the years, I think we just really honed in on the craft, DJing. And then as of recent, right, we've really just come together to start collaborating on amazing music that we're sitting on. It's not quite out there yet, but we're in the works here for a nice LP. You
guys want to introduce it in the right way, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So we've been testing the waters, putting it in some of our sets. We got a set out there that we played recently for Halloween for a micro festival, and I think the reception has been really good.
Sick, dude.
For all the new tracks that we've got. And it seems to be like the new one that we play every set seems to be the one that people like a little bit more than the last one. So I'm excited to put these out, when the time's right.
Yeah, I for one am excited to hear them because the Halloween set that you guys played was absolutely sick. And house music for me, EDM music in general, is like one of my favorite types of music. That's what I generally listen to on my off time. It's not for everyone, but for me, it's there. So when I heard you guys' set, I was thoroughly impressed.
Yeah.
One of the questions I was going to ask you though is, when did you find yourself going from like listening to music to being inspired and playing music?
So with Moon Junkies, I think that what I just said was that turning point. But for me personally, I started out listening to this small group, 2 guys. Their name was Odessa. I saw them at a little hole-in-the-wall bar here in Phoenix. It was like 2014, something like that. And they just changed the trajectory of my life when I heard their music. The emotion, the passion, that I heard in that, it put me on this path into this scene that I didn't even think existed. And there was a moment, I'd seen them several times, and I was like, man, I want to do this. I said, if I could bring an ounce of that emotion that I felt, that bliss, that happiness, and I could bring that to people, even for like a moment in the sets that I play, the music that I make, like that is what I want. It's almost like chasing a high in a sense, where you're just looking for these moments where you connect with people on a deeper level. You know, talking's cool and all, but like through music, you can really connect. And I think that's what I'm looking for. And that's what I want to drive home with, at least my personal project. Moon Junkies does that, but in a very different way. So
I think that I can relate to that because I remember my first festival and I knew nothing about any of the scene that goes on there or the music, but I just kind of dove headfirst into it. And I remember the moment that I had that feeling where I was connecting with the DJ or whoever was performing at that time, and it hit me where I was like, they're communicating to me with sound, and I'm feeling emotion from what they're doing, but we're not talking, and like there was like such a deep intertwined layer of emotion that came into it that really made me want to find that again. And that is why I keep going back to music festivals, is because that feeling right there is just so strong and deep. And you use the word bliss, and it is that way, And I respect that tremendously, because if you want to give that emotion to people, like that is, I feel like you're doing it for the right reasons. Because there's a lot of DJs out there that just go up to play music and want to be famous and make money, and like that's all great, like that all comes with the territory and it's awesome. But I've definitely been through sets where I can tell the difference between somebody who is up there giving an experience as a DJ, and then you go and watch somebody who's just up there to play some music that they made, and they're not really doing much to give to the crowd aside from just playing their own music, which, there's a place for both, right? The music is good, but I love experiencing DJs. And watching you that day, I did feel as though I got to experience your guys' vibe. I know it was the Moon Junkies. I've never seen you as Ico Sounds play individually, but I would love that opportunity at some point. But I have had the opportunity to listen to your music, and it is a lot different than Moon Junkies. So that being said, what kind of music do you play solo that's different from Moon Junkies, and why is it different?
So I think with Moon Junkies, we have this really big tech house, a little bit of bass house, inspired sound. One of our biggest influences, I would say, are this other duo in house music. Their name's Walker and Royce. They're just gods at what they do. They are wizards, I would say, on the decks and how they produce. And they provide this energy that, we try to encapsulate in our own way. But when it comes to my solo project, I think I fit more in the category of melodic house and techno, and these driving beats that make you want to dance, but also feel these intense emotions that you wouldn't necessarily feel on the flip side through Moon Junkies. So that's what I'm really trying to encapsulate there with that project.
How do you find the balance between Moon Junkies and Ico Sounds? Like, do you just do Ico Sounds on your own time, and then when you're together with your friend Jason, you guys are doing Moon Junkies?
I think it really just comes in waves. So there's not like a specific schedule or anything. I think it comes when it comes. We get the inspiration, and when we have that, we have to write it. So if I'm feeling inspired for my personal project, I'll hop on the computer, I'll get into my production software, and I'll get going on that. But when we can and come together, right, and we have inspiration, like we heard a new track and we're like geeking over it, right? That's when we'll get together and we'll start cranking out some tunes on our own, or putting a set together, or whatever it may be. Nice. So it really just, it comes in waves. I think we need to let like the inspiration come to us. It's not one of those things where you can force it, because I think if you do that, you end up with a product you're not going to fully love.
Right.
So I think we definitely ride that wave.
Sick, dude. When it comes down to like festivals, would you say that your guys' goal is to continue playing big music festivals and moving on to the next steps with being DJs?
Yeah.
Okay, and then have you been able to do that with Ico Sounds, like playing big shows like that?
Yeah, I have. So I played a lot of, I wouldn't say as far in distance festivals, but I have played some of the major ones here in Arizona. I played the New Year's Festival, Decadence. I played Gold Rush. These are all big EDM festivals in the area, but I've also played for some of the grassroots people out here, right? And I think that's important to shine a light on them, mainly due to the fact that they're pushing the scene through bringing these local artists to the forefront. Good friends over at I Don't Give a Funk.
I like that.
Yeah, they push the local scene. They push the grassroots movement within this community, the underground. You could almost say, right?
Right.
So I played their micro festivals for them, and those in their own right are a great like opportunity and way to showcase your talent to not just your friends, but also the people who are driving from out of state and stuff like that. So
right.
I've done it with the solo project as well. I think we have a good balance though between the two, where we do some big things with Moon Junkies, Gem and Jam. We did June Jam recently. It's a super cool festival up north. Mm-hmm. But then Ico Sounds has done some of the big ones here too. So it's moving. We're getting there, but every day is a different mountain to tackle. So
obviously the industry that you're in, being music and festivals and partying and fun, right? It's kind of a thin line that you have to walk, being the main part of that, right? Mm-hmm. Going into a festival or going into a show that you're about to play, you hear the stories of DJs like, oh yeah, I have to drink tequila and get on a certain level, blah blah. Do you have like a preparatory stance going into a show, or do you play sober? How does that work for you?
I think everyone's got their own ritual, mantra, prep that they do for a set. For me personally, I think that sure, I've had a beer or two to loosen up, I guess you could say, but there have been shows that I played sober for sure. It's more of a good friend of mine told me, if you're nervous and you have butterflies in your stomach and you have that every single show, it means you care. Mm-hmm. And that's probably one of the most important things to hold on to, because every time I show up to the gig, he's one of the, he's a homie. He's one of the sound guys at one of the local venues. He, every time I talk to him, he's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, honestly, I'm ready, but I'm nervous. I got butterflies in my stomach, and I want to do good." And he's like, "Man, that's really the best thing that you can have, because you haven't lost the passion and that you're in it for the right reasons just off of that feeling." Absolutely. So I try to ride that wave now, right? I'll go to a set, and as long as I'm feeling that, I know that I'm in the right place, doing the right thing. Again, every now and again, I'll loosen up with a beer. Sure. Maybe. Absolutely. But it's more so making sure I'm in tune with my feelings before I get up there and play music for people, so they can feel what I'm trying to convey to them. So absolutely, I think that's the most important thing when it comes to prepping for a set.
One of the things I wanted to touch on is this, similar to what your friend told you, the sound guy. That was some advice that I got, right? Mm. And it's very similar. Being nervous and being excited are the same emotion. It's just how you're perceiving the emotion in your head on how your body's feeling, right? Right. So being nervous is actually being excited, right? But you just have to perceive it differently, which would make sense. I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting. So that's mad respected. One of the things I loved about your set was it seemed that you were very much so like a technical DJ. You're not just pressing play and then having the crowd have fun. You seem to have like a jam band type of feel to where you're kind of following the crowd's movement. Do you want to touch on that a little bit as far as like live mixing versus just press and play?
Yeah, so I think there's every DJ, every producer is different in how they come to a set. Some will take a long time to prepare the music, make sure every transition is perfect before they ever get to the stage. And I think that's a very good way of making sure you have the perfect moments for people. And then there's times where, and I think I probably do this a lot more, is I show up and I like to feed off the energy of the crowd, the people that are in front of me, whether it's one person or 1,000 people, 2,000 people, however many it may be. And I feed off that energy, and that drives the music selection. That drives where I want to go with my set. And it's almost like telling a story sometimes where you want to show people and make them dance and just forget and experience the moment. And I think when I do that, when I show up to a set and I'm not necessarily showing up with a set list that's 1 through 20 or whatever it may be, I can really come back to that emotion and really feel with the crowd that I'm playing to, rather than just trying to make them feel a certain way. And I think that experience, and I think you were touching on this too, with how you feel when you're experiencing a DJ. I think that's that moment, right?
Absolutely.
You're feeling these emotions, the DJ is feeling these emotions, and you're all experiencing it together.
Yeah.
And you're coming together, and you just, it again, it comes back down to, it's that bliss that you feel, right? The music is really taking you to a different place. And I think that's one of the coolest experiences out there.
One of the more recent times that I've kind of understood, and music has been a big part of my life, but understanding music has not. And I'm just now coming into this time at my ripe age of 30 now, that I am understanding the deeper level of what people do on stage and performing, and the reasons why. And the first time that I've ever experienced that was at the last music festival I went to. It's called Same Same But Different in San Diego, where I felt what the artist on stage was doing, where he was giving to the crowd, but the crowd was also just as important as the DJ, because without the crowd, there is no music, and without the music, there is no crowd. And there was like this cycle of love that was just being given back and forth, right?
Right.
And even the artist on stage said, I love you guys and what you're doing right now. Where I'm from, I don't get this. And like, he felt the difference between the crowd where we were and how we were dancing and vibing with their music and enjoying it. And like, they were feeding off that energy. And it was like the first time I understood what it felt like to be up on stage, but also how important it was to be somebody in the crowd enjoying what was happening up on stage, right? And it was like this balance and harmony that I've never understood until that moment. And have you experienced that before?
Yeah, all the time, right? I think music is different for everybody too. It's a totally different experience, right? One person is feeling, love and joy. One person is, so overwhelmed with emotion, they're crying, right? Mm-hmm. And you get to share that, right? And at these festivals too, I think one of the biggest things to understand is that like these are safe spaces for you to just be who you want to be. And I think, day-to-day life, we don't always get that. So when you go and you can just cut loose for a weekend and you can just experience this music and you can cry and you can be happy and you can form new relationships with your friends and even like the DJs, right? And the people bringing this music to you, that is that feeling that I think we're talking about, right? And that really just drives why you keep coming back for more. It's almost, again, it's like that high, right? You're like, wow, like how do I get that again? And you go back and you discover new artists, right? And then all of a sudden you're opening your mind to so much more that is out there.
Right. Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because the last festival that I went to, I brought my friends that had never experienced it before. And, I'm kind of prepping them into what they're about to experience, and at least a little bit, I don't want to hype it up too much. I want to let them have their own roller coaster of emotion that they're going to experience, whatever it is that they're going through. But The one thing that I did tell them was like, you're about to experience what life is without society, right? You're about to experience yourself in a pure way that you've never experienced before.
100%.
And there's a connection that happens with the people that you go with, the people that you meet in camp, or the people that you meet, or that you're just your friends, but like you said, a different type of connection where there's just so much raw emotion going on, but acceptance all at the same time. It's purely beautiful in my opinion. And again, that is why we keep going back.
Right.
This weekend I had a bit of an experience like that. I was in Hawaii with some DJ friends.
Okay.
And I told them, I was, hey, I'm gonna interview my friend. He's a DJ. I played your set for them and they loved it. But I said, what kind of questions can I ask him? And they had a question for you.
Cool.
From one DJ to another. And everybody knows that I like a little bit of conflict or, what's it called? Confrontation in my controversy. There we go. Controversy. Yeah, controversial topics of the day from one DJ to another. What do you think about people not respecting beat syncing, and do you beat sync while mixing? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so beat syncing is like one of them hot water topics in the DJ world. So to kind of put it in layman's terms, so the average person can understand, basically a DJ, when they're mixing, whether it's 2 live tracks, 3 live tracks, 4 live tracks on the decks, however many you have, right? Every track sits at a certain beat per minute. That's like the time and speed at which it plays. So this big thing that everyone talks about in the DJ world is why you should or shouldn't use beat sync. Well, it's funny because for some people that are purists, that are traditional, they're disc jockeys from the 80s, 90s, right? They flip vinyl. They, for the most part, think that you should be able to match whatever beats per minute with each other. And while that's cool and all, the technology's there. So I'm one of those people that's like, if I'm going from 140 BPM drum and bass track because I'm having a good time and I want to get back down to my house track, if I use beat sync because it makes my life easier, I'm cool with it. But you're always going to get those people who are like, you shouldn't be doing it, But it's out there, right? And technology is always evolving, and if you can utilize everything at your disposal, I'm all for it. So, I guess this is my stance on it. If you got it, use it, and if you don't need it, that's fine. As a DJ, as a professional, you can do it with or without. So, I guess that's my stance on it.
Nice. Yeah, you said that was a hot topic on Twitter every once in a while, right? Yeah,
it makes its ways, right? It'll come in cycles. Some guy will get on there and be like, yeah, beat sync's for fools. You shouldn't be using it. I flip vinyl and, that's how it should be. You should be able to do it by ear. And while I think it's super important to have the skills to be able to do all of this by ear, that you have the tools at your disposal. So I'm still going to tell people, especially when you're first learning, right? Like there's a lot of people getting into just DJing because it's fun, right? Especially now, one of the first things you can do is learn how to use that beat sync button so you're not out of key here, or, you're not running out of time. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense for the most part.
So what you're saying is it's for the new DJs who are performing for a crowd, and the beat sync button is so that the crowd doesn't get messed up with their rhythm and flow.
Yeah, I mean, beat sync will definitely help you in cases, right? When you have a clap or on one track and a clap on another track, and all of a sudden they're out of sync, it's probably just because you're not on, in beat, right? So you want to make sure that they're right in line with each other. So the easiest way to do it is hit that beat sync button. It'll match the BPMs up, and all you got to do is make sure they're in line. So
nice.
It makes your life a little easier. And for new DJs out there, I think it's an important tool to at least get your feet wet and understand how it all works. And then as you get better, you develop that ear for it. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you've mentioned a couple artists, Odessa, and then what was the other ones that the Moon Junkies?
Walker and Royce.
Walker and Royce. Yeah. I've never listened to them, but you've actually sparked it in me. I want to take a listen to them as well. But one of the questions I had for you is like, as you grow in the DJ world, who would be like your dream artist to collaborate with?
I think that's a loaded question. I don't think there's like one specific dream artist for me. I think that there are so many good producers out there these days that I want to produce and make music with all of them. I know my homie Jason, the other half of Moon Junkies, like we have these goals to produce with all of these other DJs. I think for sure Walker and Royce. I think maybe one day, I don't know if Odessa really fits in the realm. They have other projects, but I mean, producing with them would be like a dream come true for sure. But then there's other amazing artists. LPGOB, she is like this amazing producer, female in the industry, especially in a male-dominated industry. I think it's super important to shed some light on some of these other females that are in here in this industry. She does amazing work. She actually produced like basically like a Grateful Dead album, but like with a cool EDM twist on it.
Wow.
She Jerry Garcia, she did a collab with him on an entire album, and it's just this psychedelic, amazing piano-driven house music, and I don't think you get that from some of the other people out there. So yeah, I mean collabs. Any one of those artists out there, right? There's Gorgon City, Walker and Royce, LPGOB, Odessa. Those are all people I'd love to just connect with and make something special.
Yeah, absolutely. So. It's funny you say that about the female DJs kind of giving the respect, because one of the people that I was with this weekend was a female DJ, and she's the one that had the question about beat syncing for you.
Oh, there you go.
And so it's kind of funny because we were talking about that, and it's not really a controversial topic because we all know that there's some female DJs out there that just blow the socks out of everybody.
Yeah.
Especially when live mixing and dancing, like they're just like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, mad respect to the female DJs out there, and I'm happy that you put some emphasis on that.
I think it's important, right? We need to make sure that like this scene is diverse and everyone gets an opportunity to produce the music that we can all listen to. And I think it's important to dig a little deeper and find these artists and bridge that gap. I think that there's definitely been a lot of discrimination in the past, but I think we're really moving past that, and we're really putting some good light on, people of color in this scene, right? And then the women in this scene too. So, it's just nice to see, right? When all of that kind of comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about like vocalists or like artists you produce a track for? Have you ever thought of like people you want to be on a track for you?
That's also like one of those questions, because like a lot of like EDM is produced from stems that are made from people, and they just upload it to a website. It's called Splice, and there are vocalists out there. They'll produce a clip of their voice, and they'll put it up there, and you purchase it, and it's royalty free. So like that's where a lot of like music comes. Not a lot, but like that's where you can get a lot of your samples from. I think like what we're trying to do, like Moon Junkies as of currently, is we use our own voices in a lot of our tracks, and we'll just pitch bend, we'll alter the voice. It doesn't really sound like us, and it makes it it's free, it's us, and I don't know if we're quite at the point where we know what we want lyrically, but we can still do a lot with that. So it's kind of where we're at. Voices out there, there's so many though.
That's pretty wild that there's a website where you just can go and sing a hook, and you just purchase it, and and then next thing you know, you're in this massive song, and like you're like, I didn't even know I was gonna be in that massive song. Like that's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, like one of John Summit's like biggest tracks, Deep End, right? Like that was a vocal sample that you can just get online, right? And it's when you purchase it, it's royalty free, right? I mean, they make a crap ton of money because a bunch of people purchase that sample, right? It goes back to the artist. But yeah, I mean, some of the biggest sounds in EDM have come from programs like this. On the flip side though, there's a huge wave of just bringing old tracks into the new. So like I think one of the big TikTok sounds out there is Smooth Operator, right? So there's like this big wave of people going to old music, sampling, vocals, and bringing them back to the current, making a house track, a dubstep beat, whatever it may be. But it's kind of cool to see this resurgence of like 80s, 70s tunes that, we all love, and we love the originals, but hearing just a fresh take on it has been just refreshing, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see that.
So you mentioned John Summit, and one of the things that I learned about him was that he started putting on his own festivals, with him being the headliner for most of it, right? Mm-hmm. And previously, before, big companies would put on festivals and just obviously pay the artists to come play and headline or not headline, whatever it is, in the mix. But how do you feel about DJs kind of taking their own stance and creating their own festivals and bringing in their own artists, like John Summit? Or one of the things that I did learn recently was Fred again bringing a local artist and opening up for the local artist, but also closing so that he brought the crowd and the people, which I respected fully, because obviously he wants the people to stay for the person that he's putting on. But how do you feel about putting on your own festival as a DJ? Yeah,
so I think with that, one of the cool things that I found, my homie Jason actually showed me this. We were watching like a YouTube video. I was like, how to get booked. How to get booked in this scene. Like, what do you need to do? 1, make your own music. 2, reach out to promoters, right? For festivals, for clubs. Show them your mixes, show them your music, show them what you got, right? And tell them, hey, like, this is what I got, I'd love to play, right? Or show them that you can sell tickets, right? That's like a huge thing, right? Because at the end of the day, if the promoter in the club isn't selling tickets, they're not making money, they might close, right? And then all of a sudden, you don't have a gig, but they're out of business and no one's getting to experience music. And then the last option, throw your own shows. So a lot of people have been on that wave. There's some cool collectives out there, like Desert Hearts is a label. They're a group of guys. They have a specific sound, right? And they just started throwing their own parties and their own shows. And it turned into this thing where now they are this huge collaborative, organization, not organization, but like they're a label now, right? And they have festivals and they have shows and they bring this experience around the country, around the world. And that's kind of what John is doing too, right? He has built this brand and it's become super huge and he has a label now. So the next logical step is like, I played all these shows and all these venues around the world, like throw my own now, right? That's the next step. Because at the end of the day, like now you get to produce how, everything turns out, who's getting booked. You can shine light on, smaller artists, but artists that are on your label that you just signed. So it's cool to see that. And I think it's good for the industry too, as a whole, because it's not just, a few labels or a few companies that are running everything now and throwing shows. It's all of these grassroots DJs, collectives, big artists too, but now you just have so much more shows out there, right? More experiences to be had. So I think that's just a cool thing to have now.
So that being said, dude, do you feel like the label in the music scene is obsolete when it comes down to being an artist? Like, do you feel like you could do it without the label at this point?
I don't think it's necessarily obsolete. I think that every label has its own lane that it stays in. There are some really big ones out there that I'd love to be on, right? I think one of the most notable out there is Defected. They throw their own festival in like Croatia or something like that. And, they are a driving force for a lot of artists to be discovered. So John Summit, like his big breakout song was like Deep End, right? And that came through Defected Records. They signed that song, they heard it, and now that propelled him to where he's at, and he's throwing his shows. So while like labels, I would say, are, I don't know if they're not important, but they still have a very important role in the scene. But, with that being said, I think, what you can take away from it is that anyone can do it. It's just about how you do it and the steps you take to get there. So I don't think they're obsolete as of yet. I think they're still super important.
Right. When it comes down to getting into labels, like you said that you want to be on this certain label, but do you find yourself ever wanting to throw your own party and play?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Moon Junkies are already on that. So like that's the wave we're on. We definitely want to do that. But our friends too, right? Like I said earlier, I don't give a fuck. They're grassroots, right? They throw their own shows. They fell in love with this scene the same way I did through the music, and they've been putting on amazing little micro festivals. And the idea is to keep doing this, providing this experience to people. So yeah, I mean, even for Moon Junkies, we'd love to, even if it's like a stage at a festival or like this little experience, like I think we could really push this cool experience for the masses. Yeah, I mean, throwing our own parties would be sick, and I think that could be on the cards here in the future for sure.
Dope. Switching gears a little bit, you just got married recently, yeah?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
How long have you guys been together?
3 years, 4 years, going on 4. Yeah.
So I'm assuming your music career was already involved in your life before she was.
100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how does she handle all that?
So I think that with this, it's actually been a super supportive atmosphere. Going into it, this was always something I was already doing, right? And that was like the understanding, right?
Sure.
Now, I guess the big question here is like, when I start touring, right? Like when that happens, what those struggles, what is that going to be like, right? But that has always been an understanding. Like, if I go tour and I go around the world, ideally that's the passion and that's what we want to do. Are we cool with that? And I think we've definitely talked about it. I don't know if we've really hashed out the details of it, but at the end of the day, like we all knew what we were getting into here. So I would say I still have like the best support from my wife, kid. I mean, my family and friends all support it too. So yeah, I think, we can definitely do it.
I think it's important because anybody who's listening right now, it goes just with anything in the entertainment industry, music, stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are going to tour. That's how you have to grow your audience, yeah?
Right.
And you being an artist that you experience rather than just listen to, like, it's super important to do. And I think it's great that you guys have have had that conversation going into, what is this going to look like? Are we going to be okay with this? It's not going to just come up and be like, oh no,
Right.
So anybody listening, I mean, obviously it's one of those things. If you can give them a nugget to getting into a relationship like that, what would be your piece of advice?
Communication, right?
Yeah.
I think that's with every relationship, right? Like, it's not just about like the music, right? Every relationship's built on that communication. So you need to be upfront, you need to communicate your feelings, your passions. That way your significant other, whoever it is, right? They understand what you're doing and what you want to do. And like, as long as you're on the same page, right, you can figure out a balance with all of this, right? If I'm gone for a month or two and it's a tour, right, or whatever, however long it may be, I'm sure we'll find a solution to this that, provides us with the best, outcome.
Amazing, dude.
Does she come to your shows, or is she sick of your music?
Oh, she's always at the shows, yeah. She still comes to like pretty much every show. I mean, the only time she doesn't come out is if she's sick or she's got work in the morning, whatever it may be. Because as a DJ, right, you live in the nightlife. So, I'm playing on weekdays, right, and I'm playing until 2 a.m., right? That's not a normal schedule for people, right?
Sure.
So she's got work at 8 in the morning, and I'm out till 2 playing a gig. Like, that's the only time that maybe she's not there. But for the most part, every gig that I play, there's a slot there for her to come and see me play. And honestly, every time I'm done playing or whatever it may be, it's always a different type of compliment based on the music I've played. So it's always fresh and new to her too. So
one of the things I've noticed in the in the EDM world is that there's a ton of big name celebrities like Shaq or Lindsay Lohan or Paris Hilton coming into the industry and just drawing a crowd right away without ever really having previous experience being a DJ.
Right.
And I have heard that people are a little bit pissed off about that when that happens, right? What's your stance on that, and how do you feel about somebody coming into the industry as a non-musician and just becoming a DJ?
Yeah, I mean, it's I can understand the sentiment behind being upset, because like if you're a celebrity and you decided that you want to do this, like it's this, like you didn't work for it, right? You were just kind of allowed to do it, and now you're drawing crowds. I get that people could be upset about it, but at the end of the day, like a lot of what these celebrities have done is bring this music into the mainstream. And you know, previously, like it wasn't that big. I mean, you know, some of your favorite music out there has been produced by some of the smallest producers in, you know, this world of EDM, house producers. I mean, there's some bigger producers out there, but you know, your favorite artist, Drake, right? I mean, he's had albums and songs produced by some of these producers that you would have never heard of. So being able to see these celebrities get involved with this now and bring it more to the mainstream, it's just a bigger audience, and you can bring your music to more people. So I think I think it also is very important. I think one of my favorite celebrities out there that does it is Idris Elba. So he, you know, just a big British dude, but you know, he loves house music. He's played festivals all over the world, and he's good at what he does. He's done this for years, and no one really knows, right? We just know him as the actor. He plays in all these cool action movies, right? But like, yeah, he does house, and he does it well, and it just helps shine that light on this industry that isn't as big as hip hop or pop music, right? You're not going to see us at these huge stages like Taylor Swift around the world, but you know what? Like it's getting there, right? We're on the way to really hitting that mainstream.
I think that's what I love about house music is like the people that you least expect to love house music love house music, and there's like an EDM genre for everyone.
Yeah.
Whether or not you think you like EDM or not, like when you look at the classification and the umbrella of what EDM is,
right,
there is a lot of EDM out there that I think generally everybody can find a liking to.
Yeah.
You know. And so I think it's cool that that's a point that you brought up, because I didn't ever think about they're bringing the light into the industry and helping everybody grow, you know?
And there's still going to be room for the underground. And I think that's like, I wouldn't say gatekeepers, but there's definitely people in the industry who, you know, don't want this music to become as mainstream. But at the end of the day, like it just helps to drive more opportunities for people. And I think at the end of the day, like the underground will still be the underground. There's still going to be, you know, these raves in warehouses that are abandoned in the middle of, you know, the city that you have to know a guy to hear about, right? So that's still going to be there. That'll never disappear. That is part of the culture of what, you know, EDM is, house music is. I mean, it came from disco, it came from the gay nightclubs back in the 80s and stuff like that, right? That underlying aspect will never leave the scene, and I think it is important to still be able to drive it into more ears and more people. And you know, again, like you were saying, you know, you might not realize it, but there's probably somewhere within this scene for you, and you just haven't realized it yet.
So there was two leading catalysts in the industry of techno house back in the day. It was Armin van Buuren and Tiesto, and they were kind of neck and neck always for the top of the chart. Who do you choose?
Who do I choose? That's a good one. I mean, I think they're both like in their own lanes respectively. I think they both came from the same roots. They're both trance guys. So they produce these super melodic tracks. End of the day, as far as like who's kind of scaled outwards and branched out, I think Tiesto's done a really great job of doing that, staying extremely relevant to a larger crowd. Although Armin van Buuren has stayed very true to his roots, and he does like all this amazing work within the trance community. So I think at the end of the day, you know, as far as who I'd probably listen to more, it's still probably Tiesto. But you know what? You can't really say anything bad about the guy. I mean, he's been doing it for so long. He's just a legend in the scene. But yeah, I think that's what I'd probably choose. If I were to choose between two shows, I guess you could say if I had to go one or the other, it'd probably be Tiesto.
They're friends. I think, yeah, Tiesto and Armin van Buuren are friends.
I think so.
It's like a friendly competition.
Yeah.
I was in Guadalajara once for a wedding, and I realized that there was a music festival going on and my friend was like, let's go. And I was like, all right, well, I got to change my flight. But I'll go. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and techno or trance music is not my niche in
Right.
the EDM world, but I appreciate it still, right? It's just not what I'm listening to, but this ended up being a lot of techno. And nobody spoke English there, which was kind of cool. It was quite the experience, but my friend is really into that, and he goes, right before Armin van Buuren came on, who I had no idea who that was, right? He goes, you're about to see one of the best DJs in the world play. And this was a big festival with the lasers and the fireworks and the whole stage setup. It was like overwhelming, and it was like honestly the coolest thing I've ever experienced, especially being in a different country. Mm-hmm. And so after an hour and a half of Armin van Buuren playing, I looked at my friend, I was like, bro, what just happened? Like, that was the most insane set. It took me in all of these different directions. So I have to choose Armin van Buuren only because I've seen him live.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Tiesto.
I feel that.
Okay, going from old school to new school, AI. How do you feel about AI in the music scene, and if you think it's going to affect your career moving forward because it's so easy to make a song at this point?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that's a huge topic amongst like a lot of producers out there. I think there are definitely uses for AI. I think that at the end of the day, you're still never going to encapsulate what a person can do and produce on their own. So I think there's definitely uses for it. There's ways that there's some cool tools out there with AI that you can like produce songs that sound like other like big artists. You can make like a voice sound like Cardi B or Drake or whoever, and then you can toss it onto a track, but it's not actually their voice. I think legally it gets you around into some hot water if you were to do that, but I think it definitely has its uses. I don't think it'll ever really take over or replace any human out there and the emotion that you can really put into whatever project it is. I think music and outside of music too, I don't think it's ever really going to take over what we can do and produce.
I think the only thing that's bothered me recently is like not knowing if an artist actually came out with a song or not, because there's people like, oh, this was AI produced, it's not real. And I'm like, what? Like, this song's a banger, you know?
Yeah, but I think there's parameters to that, right? You can make it sound like another person's track based on like whatever you put into the ChatGPT or whatever it is, right? And you can make it sound like someone else or like a few different artists, but it's not going to be like 100% original. It will still sound like those other people's work. And you'll be like, oh, is it this guy? And they're like, no, it's AI, that's cool. But it's not gonna be, it's still not gonna sound original. It's just gonna sound like other people. So, and I think that's like the huge thing too, is like even the AI sounding like other people, when they produce a new track, it'll be totally different than whatever that AI produced. So it's still not gonna change what people sound like.
So no fear in AI?
Not really. I mean, if you use it and you want to use it to help produce, I don't think you're gonna be found out about it. I don't think it's gonna like ruin your career. But at the end of the day, like, you're trying to produce original work, and if it helps with your workflow, use it, right? It doesn't help me, so I'm not using it. So there's that, but everyone's trying to use a new tool to get an edge, right? Do something different, and if that's what you do to make it a little bit different, then go for it.
Nice. If there's one thing that you could tell somebody who is inspired by what you do and wants to be a DJ but is scared, what can you tell them to get over their fear and get out there and do what they love?
Like Shia LaBeouf said it best, just do it, right?
That's so funny.
No, the funny YouTube video where he's like, just do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say like the big shoe brand out there, right? They also got that slogan. But no, definitely, don't let what you want to do with the world get in the way, right? Don't let yourself get in the way of yourself. You have the ability to do it. You just need to go out there and take it and really just do it. So, you know,
just do it.
Right. Do it.
No, I love that, dude. I love that. I think that, you know, the fear is the underlying part of anything that you want to do in your life, right? Imposter syndrome. This podcast, for instance, I wanted to do for 3 years and never found the way to do it because I couldn't find it within myself to not get over my imposter syndrome of being able to do this, right?
Yeah.
And so if you are listening and you want to be a DJ or whatever it is that you want to do, I think our message here today is to just do it. Like get out there, let your fear be the catalyst and don't run away from your fear.
Yeah, embrace it.
Embrace it and move forward. All right, running into this last bit of your haircut, my dude. I'm going to be running the razor around the edges of your hair.
Cool.
Is there anything that you want to move forward into? A piece of a nugget for the audience? Let them know where they can find your music, your social medias.
So I got lots of socials here. For the personal passion project, it's ICO Sounds, ICO _sounds, Z at the end. And then Moon Junkies. So Moon Junkies Duo on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we're all over. And then SoundCloud, ICO Sounds and Moon Junkies. You can find us on SoundCloud. We got some sets up there. We just had our recent Halloween set at our homies I Don't Give a Funk, their micro festival. It was one of those sets that you could probably, like when we listened back to it, it could have been played anywhere. It could have been at any of the major festivals. So definitely check it out. Listen to that. I've got some good melodic house and techno ones on ICO Sounds page. And we got some music coming out soon. So, you know, stay tuned. We'll have that up there eventually. So,
do you have a date?
No date right now. We're still hard at work, but we've got a few hammered down. We got to make some mixing and mastering on a few of them, but we're getting close.
I'm excited, and I second the Halloween set. It's your latest one on SoundCloud, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sick set. If you like house music, it is fun to listen to.
Absolutely.
All right, so thank you so much again for being here, dude. We thoroughly enjoyed listening to your, your take on the music industry as a whole. Our last question here at the Shape Up with Jacob is, what are your favorite trends going on in the music industry right now, and what are your least favorite trends going on in the music industry right now?
30-second TikTok DJs, bro. So I think it's a really good platform to really grow and build an audience and sell some tickets and produce some really good short clip music. But a lot of the attention span for what like house music especially has kind of gone out the window with a lot of this. So, you know, house music is one of those things where you really build on the sound and you play like 6 minutes, 7 minute edits of a track, right? And you feel this vibe. And with TikTok and the way it has shortened our attention spans, I see a lot of DJs out there spinning 30-second tracks or 30 seconds of a track in their sets, whether it's house or another genre. And I think there's a time and place for it, but as a whole, I think that's probably one of the trends that I could probably stay away from. I like to build a vibe, and it's not 30 seconds. So
What's your favorite then?
Just building on it, right? Having the emotion and the sound really carry a track, and if it's 30 seconds, I don't think you really get that. If it's like anywhere from 4 to 10 minutes, I mean, it could be the longest track ever, but there's so much to be experienced in that. You don't get that with 30 seconds. So,
you feel like DJs are making longer tracks?
There's definitely extended mixes out there, but I think like a lot of the TikTok DJs out there, they're definitely making short form sounds, right? I mean, your favorite TikTok sound's not really more than a minute. It's maybe 30 seconds, right? So, I think that's like the issue that I come up with is that, there's a lot to be had, even for these TikTok DJs, right? You have 30 seconds, but what's the rest of the track sound like?
I, for one, will say that is the first thing I feel like I've disagreed with you on in this whole conversation. And I'll be honest about it because I find so many of my favorite songs by listening to TikTok, and those 30-second clips just get me curious enough to find that DJ's name on my Apple iTunes or Spotify or even SoundCloud and be like, where is this song?
Right.
I want to hear the rest of it. And it does inspire me to find more music. And a lot of the cool songs that I find that are not so mainstream but are coming up, or the artist like Vision V, like I didn't know anything about him until I listened to his 30-second TikTok clip, and I was like, whoa, that's a melodic sound, you know, like I really like that. And then I found his song. And but anyway, I understand where you're coming from being in the industry, because I'm not in the industry, but I do thoroughly enjoy finding new music on TikTok. That is where I find most of my music.
I get the sentiment, right? And that's what I'm saying. It's a great way to grow your platform and really get like a huge outreach. And I don't disagree with that at all. I think that there's a lot of 30-second clips out there that are not full tracks. And then like that's where I find the issue.
A lot of the dubstep artists will do that, where you're like, that's a dope drop, but the rest of the song sucks. So I get what you're saying.
But it is a great way to get discovered, right? And I think TikTok is one of those platforms now that it really does offer a huge opportunity to a lot of people. So by all means, like, keep making those TikTok clips. I mean, I'm on there too, right? I don't produce clips for it, but I definitely have TikToks that use some of those big hype sounds. So, you know, it is a great platform and tool to use. So, but end of the day, I still like my edits, my long edits, and I'll keep playing them. I like to feel out that vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
The cheese, just like.
Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That was a lot of fun.
Oh, sweaty back.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting in the chair and sweating
here during a set. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching another episode of The Shape Up with Jacob. I think it's important to note that music is a big part of everyone's life, whether it's country or house, the two opposite ends of the spectrum. Everyone can find a balance on everything that we listen to and makes us feel. And that's what this show's all about here, is just helping you feel something through conversation. And we really appreciate you guys viewing, watching, and subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. If you don't mind hitting the notification bell and leaving a comment what you thought about this episode and who you'd like to see us interview in the next few episodes coming up. I think that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.